You're standing in a parking lot at 9:14 p.m., cardboard box in your hands, stapler inside, 6 years at the auto parts store, gone in a 4-minute meeting. Your manager says restructuring twice, like saying it twice makes it hurt less. He doesn't look at you, not when he says it, not when he slides the box across the desk, not even when he stands up first. Meeting over. You sit in the car, engine off, long enough for the automatic lights inside the store to shut down behind you. One row at a time, $1,900 in savings, rent due in 9 days. Your phone lights up. Group chat. Someone asking if anyone wants to split a table at a bar tonight. You don't answer. You just sit there doing math, the kind where every version of next month ends in the same place. You drive home the long way, past a strip mall you've passed 1,000 times without seeing. Half the storefronts are dark. One has butcher paper over the glass, another has a crooked sign in the window. For sale. Owner retiring. Call Herb. You don't know why you stop. You just do. The number that wasn't real yet, you call the next morning. Before you've fully decided to. Herb answers on the second ring. $14,000, the laundromat, the equipment, 22 years of foot traffic. You say you'll call back. Then you hang up. $1,900. That's what you have. You don't tell Herb. You don't tell Priya. She's asleep when you get home. You lie there running numbers instead of sleeping. You max out a credit card you promised yourself you wouldn't touch again. Your cousin Marcus wires you $3,000. No questions, only one. When do you need it? 11,400, still not 14. You offer it anyway, because people selling out of exhaustion don't always negotiate for the number they want. They negotiate for the exit that arrives first. Herb takes it. You sign at a folding table next to a broken vending machine. He shakes your hand with both of his. People always need clean clothes, kid. Recession-proof, best kept secret in America. You don't correct him, you don't have a secret yet. You have keys, a receipt, and a fear so big it has gone quiet. That night, you tell nobody. Not because it's a secret yet, because it doesn't feel real enough to say out loud. What $2,100 actually buys you. You run the laundromat yourself. Before shifts, after shifts, you fix 2 dryers with a YouTube tutorial and a wrench. You raise the wash price by 50 cents. You lose 0 customers. Month 4, $2,100 net. Written in a notebook. By hand. It's not much, but it's the first money you've ever made that didn't arrive on somebody else's schedule. And that number doesn't make you rich. It makes you quiet. That's when you stop mentioning what's happening. Not shame, instinct. The second people know, they have opinions, and opinions are expensive when the plan is this fragile. 8 months in, a nail salon 2 blocks away goes up for sale. The owner is moving to care for a sick parent. Fast close, quiet close, no broker, $19,000. You buy it. Laundromat cash flow, small personal loan, quiet paperwork. Nobody in your life sees it because saying 2 businesses out loud changes everything. It stops being a private experiment. It becomes a conversation, and you're not ready for that conversation. Not with them, not even with yourself. So you read cash flow statements at 1 a.m., lease structures, acquisition agreements, LLCs. You learn how to put one careful layer between your own name and the deed. Then you find a word in a forum post. Holdco. A company that owns companies, a quiet center. The businesses orbit it without seeing it. You can't stop thinking about it. The night she almost found out, year 2. Priya notices, not richer, elsewhere. You're at dinner, but you're somewhere else. Are you seeing someone else? No, I promise, it's not that. Then what is it? You get as far as, I bought a, then stop. Because how do you explain owning 2 businesses worth more than both your salaries combined? How do you explain a year of silence without admitting the obvious? She doesn't fully believe you, but she lets it go. Because tonight she loves you more than she trusts the small, cold feeling that something is off. Silence doesn't need maintenance once it's built, it just needs you to keep choosing it. 4 businesses, 0 names, year 3, the laundromat, the nail salon, a vending route bought for almost nothing from a man retiring to Florida. Then, a commercial cleaning company, $31,000, half owner financed, kitchen table, legal pad, patience. None of them carry your name. Each business gets its own LLC. Each LLC sits beneath a holding company you form quietly 2 counties over. Ashgrove Capital Partners. 3 words that mean nothing. No connection, no reputation, nothing to search for. You draw a small salary from the cleaning company, enough to look like a guy managing a crew. Everything else compounds quietly. Combined revenue by year 3, $2.1 million. Your visible lifestyle? 10-year-old truck, 1-bedroom apartment, same jeans from community college. Nobody looks twice at a 28-year-old part-time hardware store employee. And that's the point. What people see and what's true are 2 completely different things. That gap isn't an accident, it's the architecture. Year 4, you hire a bookkeeper. Sana, part-time. 3 months in, she slides a laptop towards you. These transfer patterns, she points at the screen. Same rhythm, same round numbers, 4 different LLCs. Then she looks up. Are these all yours? Your pulse moves, your face doesn't. Different clients, you say. Consulting on the side. Similar advice, similar setups. She watches you for a beat, then closes the laptop. She never mentions it again, but you spend the entire week rebuilding your records because now you understand something. The biggest threat was never going to be a stranger. It was always going to be someone close enough to notice, competent enough to understand, and paying enough attention. The phone call that changed the math year 5. A broker named Dinah calls you directly, not because she knows what you're building, because you close fast. You pay what you say you'll pay. 11 strip mall units, 1 package. Seller wants out in 30 days. $1.4 million. All in, you don't have it liquid, not close. So you build a financing structure, 6 days. Commercial loan against Ashgrove's now verifiable cash flow. 2 private investors. They know the holding company. They don't know your actual name. Day 29. You close. Your hand is shaking when you sign. First time since the folding table. That property is worth $2.6 million within 2 years. And now the lesson is obvious. You didn't get here by being the smartest person in the room. You got here by moving quietly, moving quickly, and not waiting for permission. Then another call comes. A private equity associate named Colton. He found Ashgrove through the strip mall filings. He wants to talk acquisition. 2 weeks of calls, then the number $41 million. For 6 days, you consider it, because $41 million ends the architecture. No more folding tables, no more hiding, no more gap between what people see and what's true. Then the due diligence checklist arrives. Beneficial ownership disclosure, full identity verification, notarized, filed with the state, your name, printed clean, permanent, attached publicly to everything you've spent 6 years keeping unattached. And suddenly, you understand. The deal isn't offering you an exit, it's offering you a trade, money for invisibility, and somewhere along the way, invisibility became the thing you wanted more. You tell Colton no. He asks if it's the price. You're surprised by how easy the answer is. No. The article that nearly undid 8 years. Not long after, a local business journal publishes a short piece. Mystery buyer behind string of county acquisitions. Ashgrove gets named. You don't, but Herb gets quoted. Retired now, still sharp, still willing to talk. Just some young guy, real polite, paid full and fast, didn't waste my time. You read it at 11 at night, standing in your kitchen, heart pounding, same rhythm as that parking lot. The reporter is digging, public LLC filings, registered agents, county records, seller interviews, the kind of quiet work that eventually finds what it's looking for. Your lawyer calls. Nothing in the filings traces to you personally. Pause. But if she finds one more seller willing to talk like Herb did, she gets uncomfortably close. For 11 days, you do almost nothing else. Refresh the outlet's website. Refresh. Refresh. You rehearse an explanation you hope you never have to give. Then, the follow-up arrives. 3 sentences. Page 3, and then nothing. Next week's headlines bury it. You finally breathe, but something has changed. You understand now that a secret this size never stays completely buried. It only stays quiet, as long as you're careful, every day, for as long as this lasts, which, By now, feels like forever. The letter left on the counter, year 7, Priya finds a bank letter addressed to Ashgrove Capital Partners, care of your full legal name, managing member. It was left on the counter by accident, the first real mistake in 7 years. She doesn't yell. She doesn't raise her voice. She just holds up the envelope. What is this? And finally, you tell her everything: the laundromat, the salon, the vending route, the cleaning company, 11 strip mall units, the holding company, the number you've never said out loud to another living person, not even yourself. She sits down before you finish. 7 years? It's not anger. Somehow, that's worse. You built all of this, and you let me think you worked at a hardware store. I did work at the hardware store. That's not the same thing, and you know it. She's right. And there isn't a clean answer, because the silence kept going long after it stopped protecting anything real. She doesn't leave, but something changes. Not broken, just no longer simple. The secret never only protected the business, it cost you 7 years of honesty with the person you loved most, and no acquisition buys that back. What $600 million actually looks like year 11. Ashgrove Capital Partners is valued at $600 million, 41 properties, 6 operating businesses, a small team. People who manage the assets still don't connect them to the quiet person who built everything from that folding table. You still drive a truck, just a newer one. You still know the first name of every employee at the original laundromat. It still turns a small, stubborn profit. It still smells like fabric softener and 2011. Priya stayed, not because of the number, because after that night at the kitchen table, you stopped building anything else in the dark. The last 4 years happened in daylight. She watched them happen. Instead of finding out later from another letter you forgot to hide, Herb is still alive, still retired, and he still has no idea what happened to the polite young man who bought his laundromat for $11,400. Sometimes you think about telling him. You drive past on a Sunday. Same crooked awning, same place. You never do. Some stories are better left simple. The one he tells at the barbershop is complete enough. Young guy, polite, paid fast, didn't waste his time. That's all Herb needs to know. Some nights you lie awake next to Priya, just like you did in the beginning, and you think about that parking lot. 9:14 p.m., cardboard box, stapler, $1,900. You thought your life had just ended. It hadn't. It had barely started. You had no idea what you were about to build, and you had no idea what it would cost to build it exactly the way you chose. Quietly, almost entirely alone, for years longer than it ever needed to stay that way. So here's the question you still haven't answered. Even now, even with $600 million sitting there in black and white on a statement nobody else has ever seen, if you had to do it again, would you build the exact same $600 million? From the exact same $1,900? The same folding table? The same broken vending machine? Would you still choose to build it silently? Or was the silence, somewhere along the way, never really about protecting the business at all?